Hi, this is Paul Lee, Portfolio Manager of FHL Healthcare Fund. Thank you very much for your interest in the fund. Today, I would like to give you an update on the fund's performance during Q3 2020 and provide you with some commentary on the market and the outlook of healthcare industry. In Q3, the market continued to climb, but healthcare sector lagged the overall market in performance. S&P 500 healthcare sector was up 5.82% in Q3, compared with a 9.04% return of the index. The broader healthcare index, the Russell 3000 Healthcare, was not different. It was up 5.77% versus 9.12% return of the Russell 3000 index. Our fund underperformed the benchmark in Q3, returning 2.68% versus 5.77% of our benchmark. Year to date, though, the fund is still far ahead of the benchmark, returning 14.6% net, compared with 6.3% return of the Russell 3000 Healthcare Index. Let's drill down a little bit into the monthly performance. In both July and August, the market powered ahead. Our fund was not able to keep up. However, in the month of September, the market experienced a pullback, but our fund was able to eke out a small gain. The dichotomy in the market was very pronounced in Q3. Growth significantly outperformed value, and it was the mega large cap growth names that drove the huge performance gap. Russell 200 growth had a close to 9% gap versus the value index. This divergence reminds me of the 1999-2000 stock market, when there's a huge dichotomy in valuation between the new economy and the old economy stocks. Right now, the healthcare sector falls into the value category, particularly the large cap healthcare names. Although earnings growth has been strong for these companies throughout the pandemic, the stock did not quite participate in the bull run led by the technology sector. Now, I would like to offer some brief commentary on healthcare industry outlook. I know many of us have gotten really tired of talking about COVID-19, but COVID-19 is still here. However, it seems that a post-Labor Day wave has not materialized, and the disease burden or severity measured by fatality rate is now significantly lower than back in March and April. We still need to be vigilant about potential winter resurgence, but I don't think the severity of a winter resurgence, if any, will be enough to warrant a new lockdown. I'm quite optimistic about the development of COVID vaccine and therapeutics. So far, we have already found 3 categories of therapeutics offer some benefit to patients. Remdesivir, a direct antiviral drug developed by Gilead, originally for Ebola virus, has shown to be able to shorten patients' hospital stay. Monoclonal antibodies directed against the spike protein of SARS-CoV-2 virus have shown to reduce the viral load in patients. These antiviral drugs should work even better if given early when patient only had mild symptoms. However, both of these drugs have to be administered intravenously, which limits the utility of the drugs in this group of patients. For hospitalized patients who experience severe inflammatory symptoms, a generic steroid, dexamethasone, has shown in clinical trials to reduce mortality. This is so far the only drug that has shown to confer survival benefit to patients. There are more anti-inflammatory agents being tested in the clinical trials. I'm hopeful that we may be able to find a drug that is even better than the steroid. Another important point I want to make is, since we have seen the antibody drug working in the COVID-19 patients, that gives us confidence that vaccines, which stimulate the body to produce antibodies against the virus, should work even better. In my view, it is now not a question whether the vaccine will work. It is a question how well the vaccine will work. 2 leading candidates under development in the US are mRNA vaccine, which is new. Pfizer, in collaboration with the German biotech company BioNTech, is slightly ahead Boston-based Moderna. A different type of vaccine, adenovirus-based vaccine, developed by Oxford in collaboration with AstraZeneca, right now is delayed in the US. The clinical trial has been put on hold due to safety concerns. More vaccines are under development. but they are currently in earlier stage. Rockville, Maryland-based Novavax is moving very fast into phase 3, while Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is still in phase 1 and 2. Merck's vaccine is still in phase 1. In terms of the timeline, I think as early as the end of November or beginning of December, we may have interim data from the clinical trials of Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. There is a good chance that these interim data may be sufficient to win FDA emergency use approval. However, broad availability of vaccine won't happen until the middle of 2021. The other important thing I want to point out is that these early vaccines may not be very effective. Additionally, these vaccines have to be transported in refrigerated condition, and 2 doses have to be given 20 days apart. These logistic issues may limit the utility of these early vaccines. I'm actually very hopeful that Merck's vaccine may turn out to be a better one. First, it can be transported under room temperature. Second, it needs only 1 dose. Merck's vaccine is based on a proven platform that was used in the Ebola virus vaccine. Earlier, I briefly mentioned that healthcare sector underperformed S&P 500 in Q3. There seems to be a divergence between the industry fundamentals and the stock performance. In terms of fundamentals, COVID-19 pandemic had only a short-term and limited negative impact on healthcare companies. Globally, there is a call to increase investments in public health and medical research. I think that should be good for the future growth of the industry. Mergers and acquisition has been very active in the industry, a good indication that companies are very optimistic about the outlook and comfortable with stock valuation. I think the performance of healthcare sector was held back mainly due to election year political concerns. First, with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and likely confirmation of Judge Barrett to the Supreme Court, many investors doubt the future of Affordable Care Act. If ACA should be abolished, there will be a big disruption in the industry. Second, unlike other Republican presidents, President Trump has been very vocal about his displeasure with the healthcare companies. He has issued an executive order to regulate drug pricing by using international price as a reference. Right now, the EO is sent to the CMS for rulemaking and public comments. I think the chance of it becoming policy is still very low. A third concern investors have is that if the Democrats have a sweep in the election, taking both the White House and the Senate, how would the legislative agenda affect healthcare in the next 4 years? Despite these concerns, I think there is a very strong case to be made that the healthcare stocks can have a very significant relief rally after the election. If history is of any guide, we should know that any drastic change in healthcare legislation or regulation is fraught with political hurdles. A Biden presidency will strengthen ACA and increase health insurance access and Medicare spending. That should be beneficial to the healthcare industry. The other factor to consider is that in the next 6 months, we will have a steady flow of positive news in the COVID-19 vaccine and drug development front. Post-election, the COVID-19 relief package currently stalled in the Congress has a much higher chance to pass. Valuation of the healthcare stocks in both absolute and relative terms is very attractive and reasonable. Given the persistently low interest rate and accommodating Federal Reserve monetary policy, I can make a strong case for healthcare stocks to rally and outperform the overall market in the next 6 months. On this positive note, I want to thank you for listening and your interest in FHL Healthcare Fund. If you have any question, feel free to contact me either through email or telephone. Thank you and be well.